Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of fifth part of a story where Issei was trained by the dragon gods and became the true dragon god of chaos. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Also, this is a translate version. You may find some mistakes, specifically in the character's gender. Issei of course is a male, Valley also is a male. Well, with that out, let's get into part 5. The party was going peacefully after that beautiful dance, although the Gremry group had great discomfort in their hearts the entire time. The blonde asked his girls to dance, each one after the other, leaving everyone amazed by the dance, and with the help of his beloved Tsubaki he was able to get Sona to dance. It goes without saying that she was completely red with embarrassment, but still that's how he was smiling, since being with the blonde gave him a feeling of conformity and tranquility. "I have ever told you that you look beautiful when you blush," the blonde said as he continued dancing with the Citri heiress. When she heard him, she blushed a lot from embarrassment. She still didn't know how the blonde could make her feel so that with just a few simple words, he could affect her so much. "Thank you," the Citri heiress said with some embarrassment and awkwardness that made her look even more beautiful than before. When the blonde saw her like this, his smile grew bigger, and while they danced, he made Sona completely glued to him, to which the Citri heiress, when she felt the blonde's well-formed body, blushed furiously. She wanted to walk away, but the blonde didn't give her many options, making her hold back her embarrassment and continue as if nothing was happening, although that wasn't entirely the case. Because while people only saw a fine, calm and elegant dance, if they looked closely they could see how the Citri heiress was completely red since she was touching the blonde's well-defined body. And if we add that to the fact that the blonde was moving his hand caressing her waist and part of her back, making the Citri heiress a little excited by the delicate touch. But despite that, she did nothing to push him away or stop him, because even though the blonde was giving her body small caresses, it was more as if he was appreciating the beautiful body she had, making the Citri heiress feel partly excited, but also happy and proud, since he was appreciating her body as if it were something unique. And the Citri heiress had a body that for some reason the blonde loved. She didn't have much, but she didn't have much either, if it wasn't perfect. Nice breasts, defined waist, beautiful round butt and long, sexy legs, and if we added that calm face but embarrassed by anything, they made her look extremely beautiful and unique. And that was what the blonde liked about a woman who was unique, since each of them had something unique that made the blonde lose himself in her beauty, as in the case of Lupe. That way of being so cute and affectionate when looking at him with those beautiful eyes is something that the blonde can't resist, and she knows it since she does it several times to get what she wants. There's also Kuroka who, when she's all mad, puts out those cute cat ears and tails, making the brunette can't stand it anymore. Another example could be Tsubaki, who fascinated him when she was embarrassed, but when smiling was also something he couldn't stand because of how beautiful she looked. And so it is for Yusaka or Office, that each one had something unique that made the blonde unable to resist them, and just like Lu Fei, the two of them along with Kuroka knew it, and did it to get what they wanted. "Sona, you are so beautiful in every sense of the word," he said in Sona's ear with a seductive voice, and then bit her ear, making her bite her lip to keep from letting out a light moan. If it were another man, even if it were Saji, she had already put him in his place, but when the blonde did it, for some reason she didn't want him to stop, she wanted him to continue. She loved how the blonde caressed her body even above her dress. She loved him. It was fascinating how he appreciated her body with the touch of his hand, and mainly he loved being so close to the blonde, being able to feel her body next to his. Although sometimes her heart ached for not being able to be with him brown, to which this did not go unnoticed by the blonde, and he promised to find out the reason for his change of mood. But while he was enjoying the dance with Sona, he could see a certain brunette heading towards the balcony with a sad look, to which he had to go to see what was happening to him. Fortunately, the song ended. It was a pleasure to dance with such a beautiful lady. "I hope you will allow me another dance later," the blonde said with a smile, to which the Citri heiress only nodded, since she could not speak because she was so excited and embarrassed at that dance. For everyone it was calm and fine, but for her it was like an erotic dance where the blonde excited her without touching any intimate part of her, just with the touch of his hand. And he wondered what it would feel like if they were really naked and he ran through their entire body. The color immediately rose to his face, and he sneakily left the track before continuing with that thought, or before he did something he shouldn't do, or at least not in that place. But what she didn't notice is that the blonde's girls all noticed the dance and every movement that the blonde made with the Citri heiress, making them have a mischievous smile, even Queen Citri, who couldn't help but spend a moment teasing a little of his king. The blonde headed to where he saw the brunette, while the blonde's girls arrived at where the Citri heiress was drinking water to calm down. "How was the dance, Sona?" the kitsune asked with a mocking smile, while the others surrounded her. "It was good," the Citri heiress answered, trying to hide her blush, something she couldn't do so that everyone's smile grew. "I see you enjoyed it a lot, Naya," the Nikomata commented with the same smile. "What are you talking about, Kuroka?" the Citri heiress asked nervously. "All of us were able to see that beautiful dance, Sona. We didn't miss any details," Queen Citri said this time in a suggestive tone that made her king blush more than before. Well, and the Citri heiress was trying to say, but the words wouldn't come out of her mouth. "I imagine you liked what you felt when he touched you, right?" the dragon said with a mischievous smile, making the black-haired girl unable to say anything as she blushed even more. "And you also liked what you felt, Naya. That body was also worked, Naya," said the Nikomata, making the Citri heiress blush furiously as she felt her well-worked body. The girls, seeing her like that, only smiled and left the topic as they saw that the Citri heiress was about to faint from shame. In another part of the party, a blonde was approaching a brunette who was on a balcony looking at the beautiful night. Because the look is so sad, the brunette heard a voice coming from behind her. He immediately turned around and was surprised to see the blonde who was walking in his direction. What to do here?" the brunette asked a little nervously, since lately she has felt strange being close to him, and even more so if they are alone. "I saw you walking here, so I was wondering if you felt bad or if something had happened to you," the blonde said, reaching out to the brunette and staying next to her, to which when she saw him so close, she got nervous again. Because every time he is close to me, my heart beats," the brunette thought, very worried that she has fallen in love with the blonde. "Are you okay?" the blonde asked in a worried manner. "Oh well, I'm fine. I just wanted to get some fresh air," the brunette said, trying to finish the topic. "You can't fool me. It's obvious in your eyes that something is happening," the blonde said calmly, to which the brunette jumped when she heard it. "My look?" the brunette asked, somewhat doubtful and thinking if it was so obvious. "Your look reflects great sadness and concern," the blonde answered, looking into the brunette's eyes as she opened them in surprise. But when she saw the blonde's eyes for a moment, she got lost in those beautiful eyes of a different color. And for a second he could see his beloved brunette standing where the blonde was. He immediately closed his eyes when he opened them again. The blonde was again with a worried face. Sigh, "It's just that I'm worried about something," said the brunette, already giving up on not being able to hide her worry and sadness. "I can know why you're worried," the blonde said, also worried. He had already forgiven the brunette, which is why he worried if something happened to her. "Well, I was thinking about everything that has happened since Issei-kun left, and what I did to him," the brunette said with a sad face, while the blonde only listened. "I forgot about him and I was with someone else. The brunette tried to say while tears began to run down her face. "I'm afraid that when he comes back he'll hate me and not want to be with me," the brunette said while crying lightly. "I love Issei-kun more than my own life. I would give anything for him. But I don't know what I would do if he hated me for cheating on him," said the brunette, who was crying with her head down. "But you weren't aware of that," said the blonde, while he felt his heart begin to hurt when he saw her like that. Since he heard everything the brunette said in the cemetery, his love for her increased so much that he would be on par with the other girls. But it's not an excuse. At the end of the day, I deceived him, either because of my weakness or for another reason. She couldn't finish because she felt someone hugging her. When she raised her head a little, she saw that it was the blonde. Her heart began to beat rapidly while she blushed a little. She wanted to get away from him. She wanted to get him away from her, but even though her arms were on his chest, she didn't have the strength to push him away. And when she felt his arms that hugged her, she felt safe and protected, making her thoughts from a moment ago go away and her soul that was tormented by those thoughts calm down and relax. The blonde felt like the brunette's body had completely relaxed. He was getting very worried since he didn't think she had those thoughts, although that explains why she had been acting so strange since that time in the cemetery. He reached the completion that perhaps today he reached his limit and had to release all the pain that his heart was keeping. He hugged her tighter, bringing her closer to him, and felt how she did not resist and only allowed herself to be pampered in that moment of need. Don't think that you were not aware of that, and even if your heart and soul feel that you deceived him, I can tell you with complete certainty that he will forgive you because the love you feel for him is too great for him not to be able to forgive you, whispered the blonde to the ear of the brunette, who when she heard it hit her head in the blonde's chest while she clung closer to him as if she wanted him not to leave. Irina, don't torture yourself with those thoughts. I can assure you that he loves you as you love him. For that reason, he will forgive you because you are and will always be his first love. The blonde said again to what the brunette listened to. She was crying again, but this time it was not like before, but she felt happy to hear those words that she needed so much. Thank you, she said, and although her heart was beating quickly, she didn't care because now she could feel calm and at peace with herself. Always remember that Issei loves you and he always will no matter what happens, the blonde said again while hugging the brunette tighter so that she lost herself in the quality and calm sensation she was feeling. They stayed like that for a few minutes until they separated. The brunette still had tears in her beautiful eyes. The blonde wiped her tears while the brunette left him since she could feel his love and affection when he wiped her tears. You shouldn't cry because that doesn't show how beautiful you are and how beautiful your eyes are, the blonde said as he caressed her cheek while he finished wiping her tears. The brunette blushed at the words while she felt her heart beating rapidly. It is better to see one with a smile since it reflects how beautiful you are, the blonde said again, making the brunette blush more but also making her smile. And he nodded his head for a moment in confirmation, while giving her a sincere smile. Although her cheeks were a little red, when the blonde saw her he couldn't look away from how beautiful the brunette looked. You have really become a beautiful woman, my beautiful angel, the blonde thought as he smiled back. The two went back inside to enjoy what was left of the party, but were surprised as there were a lot of people gathered. The blonde immediately went to see what was happening since he heard Ravel arguing with another man. The brunette followed behind him. When he arrived he could see Ravel hugged by Lu Fei while her girls were by her side. In front of them was Ravel's fiancée Alba, and next to him his parents and Ravel's parents. He immediately understood the situation, but it made him somewhat angry to see the Gremry group supporting the heir of the Barbados house. Irina immediately went to support her friends, which caused a satisfied smile on the blonde's face, while the Gremry group was surprised to see Irina hug Ravel next to Lupe. Irina, what to do? Zenobia said, a little angry, seeing how her friend turned her back on them. What do you think I'm doing supporting my friend? The brunette said firmly, surprising the Gremry's girls. Irina, he is Ravel's fiancé. He is a very good and handsome man. He is the only one suitable to be Ravel's husband, Aquino said, trying to make the brunette see reason. That's something you can't decide, the brunette answered seriously. Irina, you have no authority on this issue, said the redhead Gremry in a serious tone since they supported the Barbados heiress since for them he was perfect to be with their friend Ravel. Not as an angel but as a friend, and since Ravel is my friend she has my full support, she said seriously, making the blonde girls feel proud of the brunette, while the blonde phoenix was happy to be able to have such friends. Hello, good. For his part, the blonde was happy about what the brunette said, but he was behind the people observing the situation around him, and he didn't like what he saw. Most of the nobles supported the heir Barbados, the Maos, although they have to be neutral. He knew that Serzek supported the heir and Sarah Chan supported Ravel, but at this moment she can't do anything. Besides, you don't have authority on this issue either, Rias, the Citri heiress said seriously, making everyone surprised and realizing that she was on the blonde phoenix's side. The redhead wanted to say something but couldn't since it was true, and she thought it was better to stay silent. Ravel, why don't you want to marry him? He is a great man. He can give you everything you need, Razor said calmly. He did not know why his sister acted like that, if for him the heir Barbados was the most suitable for his beloved sister. I'm not going to marry someone I don't love, much less someone as conceited, arrogant as him, the blonde phoenix said seriously. Girl, take care of your vocabulary, Lady Barbados said with a serious and cold tone. Excuse me, ma'am, but that's the whole truth, answered the blonde phoenix in the same tone. Come next to me. Your place is next to me, next to your husband, said the heir Barbados angrily. You will never be my husband, and I will never be next to you. My place is next to another person, and that person is not you, said the blonde phoenix seriously while the Barbados heir could no longer contain his anger. You come with me whether you like it or not, said the Barbados heir to go to where the blonde phoenix was and hold her hand to take it away, but before he could even touch her, someone held her wrist. I think the lady said that she is not interested in you, said a serious voice that chilled the blood of everyone present. 21. The Barbados heir saw him again with an angry expression since this guy had ruined his plans several times, but as soon as he was going to say something, the blonde expelled his aura, causing him to start sweating with fear, and not only him, but also everyone present who was on the side of the Barbados heir. And in a moment a crack was heard. The blonde had broken his wrist, causing him to scream in pain, surprising everyone by the ease with which he did it. I'm sorry. I don't control my own strength, the blonde said with an emotionless voice while he released the Barbados heir, who fell to the ground holding his wrist since the blonde broke it in several places, making the pain much greater. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines when they heard him say those emotionless words. Immediately the heir's parents went to see his wound. Someone else wants to be smart, the blonde said again with an emotionless voice, making everyone unconsciously take a step back because of the fear they had. Damn it, I'm going to kill you for doing that to my son, said the leader of the Barbados house, launching into an impulse of rage. Seeing the blonde, his power increased even more since being the leader of a house his power was not small. Although it was not so great for him to get serious, he did not want to underestimate him. Immediately everyone felt the increase in power, and then saw how the blonde stopped the leader's blow with one hand as if it were nothing. Immediately the blonde hit him hard in the stomach, causing him to fall to his knees spitting blood. Without any mercy, he raised his foot and gave him an axe kick that left the leader on the ground. Everyone was surprised by the demonstration of power. In just 2 moves, he defeated a leader of the house. With that power, you come before me, the blonde said with the same emotionless voice, leaving everyone in shock. A little behind him was Valley with his wives. They were supporting the blonde phoenix. Although Valley never dealt with her if he knew she was one of his friend's women, so logically he was going to defend her if something happened. Valley was with a smile. He had already been able to see some of the blonde's power, and when he saw how that leader launched himself into mowing, he could not help but smile when he saw such a suicidal act. On the part of Sona and her entourage, they were surprised since they had never seen the power of the blonde, at least until now, that they could not help but be surprised by the tremendous power he had since he defeated a house leader, as if it were anything. With Ravel she had a small blush at the way the blonde defended her, and even more knowing that he would go to such lengths to knock out a house leader for her. The blonde's girls smiled at their lover's act, which was to be expected since a dragon is very possessive of his women, and will not let anything bad happen to them. What do you want with my daughter? Lady Phoenix asked this time in a serious tone. I don't want anything from her. She is simply under my protection, and anyone who wants to harm her will have to deal with me. The blonde was happy in a serious manner, expelling a little of his aura that he had already kept terrifying everyone. You can't do what you want. She is already committed to someone, and no one can change that, Lady Phoenix said seriously, although inside she was terrified of the enormous power that the person in front of her had. The blonde phoenix became depressed upon hearing that, since it doesn't matter that she will always have to marry him. Exactly. She was already engaged to someone, if I remember correctly. You were the one who formed the engagement, the blonde said, drawing the attention of everyone present, mainly the blonde phoenix and her mother, who didn't know what she was talking about. That's lies. I haven't committed my daughter to anyone else. But when she was going to continue, she remembered a certain brown-haired boy. It seems that you already remembered. That's Lady Phoenix. Ravel Phoenix is engaged to Issei. The blonde said seriously and loudly so that everyone could hear him. When he said that name forgotten by everyone, they were quite surprised, while other people lowered their heads when remembering that name. While the blonde phoenix, upon hearing that name, Her heart began to hurt because she could not see him again, although she still had the hope of seeing him one day. He is already dead. It means that the engagement is over, Lady Phoenix said seriously after recovering from that little shock. I would like to know how you are so sure that he is dead, the blonde said seriously. When people heard that, they paid attention to the conversation. It's logical. That beast has surely already killed him. Lady Phoenix answered while she felt that something was wrong with the person in front of her. First he died at the hands of a fallen angel. He came back to life. Then he died defending the underworld, but he came back from death. He was left in a deep coma after defeating the evil dragons in the war against Cow's Bridget, but he woke up. Now he is trapped in that dimension with the Trihexa. How are you so sure that it will not return, or rather, how are you so sure that it is still in that dimension? The blonde finished saying with a smile when he saw how everyone was in total shock at what was said, mainly the last time part. How were they sure that Issei was still trapped in that dimension, was the question everyone was asking. What do you mean? Lady Phoenix asked doubtfully. Issei may have already left that dimension, and why doesn't he show himself seriously? Because he is recovering from his injuries with the Trihexa. The blonde said with a smile. Behind him his girls, along with Valley and their wives, had an amused smile upon hearing what the blonde said. He has already been presumed dead more than 3 times, which stops him from returning this time. The only difference is that this time it is taking longer, or maybe he is already here and is disguised as another person, seeing what each of them does. His loved ones, said the blonde with a big smile when he saw everyone in total shock and a great silence occurred in the place. Even Sir Zack did not say anything and Azazel only remained silent the time, but that last one made him think a lot since it was true. While Irina, Ravel and Seraph heard what the blonde said, their hearts began to beat strongly while their desire to see their beloved brunette again became stronger. But on the other hand, the Gremry group had a strong pain in their chests knowing that great possibility. He may even be seeing this right now. He may have come to witness the wedding of the person who once swore eternal love to him, said the blonde, but this time seeing Rias, who had her breathing accelerated when she heard that, and her heart hurt more every moment. Everyone present saw her again without knowing what to do or say about this issue. The blonde turned to look at Lady Phoenix as he stood next to the blonde Phoenix, and took her by the hand to bring her to the front of Lady Phoenix. All of this was seen by everyone present. Even the family from the Barbados house, who had already woken up, but were still on the ground due to the damage caused by the blonde. The blonde Phoenix did not put up any resistance as she completely trusted the blonde, something very strange since she didn't know him that much. Lady Phoenix, I am here next to your daughter and in front of you to tell you something and for the guests tonight to witness my words, said the blonde seriously, while Lady Phoenix was calm and serious on the outside and inside. I was afraid of having the blonde so close since he gave off a powerful aura. Reconsider the commitment between this beautiful lady and the bastard who is lying there, since she, by right and king that you yourself signed, is Issei's fiancé, the blonde said seriously while the blonde Phoenix wanted to cry with joy now that he realized that the blonde knows something about his beloved brunette. But her happiness increased when she said that she was Issei's fiancé, since she had the dream of marrying and starting a family with her beloved brunette. Those present were silent, listening to what he was saying. Even the Mao and Azazel did not say anything, and they also realized that the blonde knew something about the brunette that they did not. The pig-tailed Mao was really happy because from what she understood that today her beloved Issei was alive and well. The Grimoires were about to cry since from what they see, their former beloved brunette was alive, but they could no longer be with him because they had other people by their side. The pain in their hearts was killing them. Lady Phoenix, this is not a threat, but I don't think Issei would like to see his fiancée married to another man when he returns, and I assure you that he didn't want to see what a dragon does when someone tries to separate him from his women, the blonde said seriously as he let out a little of his aura, terrifying everyone, mainly Lady Phoenix who was in front of him. So you better think about what you are going to do from now on, and I hope you choose the right decision. The blonde finished saying to go to where his girls were next to the blonde Phoenix, who had a big smile of happiness. But the two stopped in front of the Barbados family. As for you, it is better that you forget the engagement, and so that they can see that I show my face. This engagement is void since she had an engagement much earlier, so her house will not lose prestige if they decide to end this engagement. I finished saying. To get to where his girls were, who welcomed him with a smile. Now I see that there is nothing that needs my attention, so I'm leaving for today, said the blonde, looking at all the guests again. I wish you a happy life together, Mr. and Mrs. Gremery, the blonde said, bowing slightly as he looked at where the newlyweds were. Razor was quiet, just looking at him, while Rias, when she heard those words, felt a strong pain in her chest. Her heart was hurting a lot. Fei-chan, stay a little longer and make sure that nothing happens to Ravel. If something happens, call me immediately. The blonde whispered to the magician, to which she nodded, and after kissing his beloved wife and his girlfriend Citri, he left with his girls and behind him Vala and his wives, who went to their own home. The entire room remained silent. No one said anything as everyone was processing what just happened, although some people had a smile on their face. Azazel, because he found all that very interesting, and even more so the power that the blonde demonstrated a moment ago. Irina, Ravel and Sarah fall because they were able to realize that their loved one was still alive and safe. Tsubaki because her boyfriend was really overprotective of his women, but that was something she loved. Sona had a confusing smile, since if Issei is really alive and healthy, she needed to clarify her feelings, since she had feelings for the brunette, but she also had feelings for Sujiro. She did not want to be confused, so she decided to clarify what she feels for both of them. Human world, Haida Mansion. Issei, do you think they'll leave Ravel alone with that? The dragon said with great curiosity, although she already knew the answer. The blonde shook his head in denial. No, today I humiliated the Barbados family, so they will surely want revenge, and what better revenge than by marrying Ravel to his son, said the brunette while resting in an armchair, and his girls were by his side. So what are you planning to do, Naya? Asked the Nikomata, interested in her friend's future. At the moment nothing. If Lady Phoenix really decides to marry Ravel-chan, either because she wants to or because of the Barbados house, I am going to intervene, but this time in a more efficient way. The brunette answered, and well, to his girls, who were quite curious but also a little worried about what their beloved Issei is going to do. Don't worry, girls, there's no danger except that I'm going to have to implement the plan that I had created when I realized about Ravel-chan's wedding, the blonde said with a smile to his loved ones. The night passed normally. The brunette waited for his beloved wife to go to sleep together with the other girls who were also waiting for her. And when he returned, they all got ready to sleep after a good bath, or that was what they planned, since in the goodnight kisses a certain magician got excited by the kiss, so that when the girls saw them kiss like that they also got excited. The brunette, who saw this, only smiled and told them to come closer to him. Clearly they did not hesitate or take long to begin a night full of pleasure for our beloved Issei and his beloved girls. The next morning we can see a brunette waking up next to his beloved girls. When he saw them, he couldn't help but smile, since they were all asleep and so beautiful. Who would have thought things would end like this? Drake said in a mocking tone. How funny, Drake. Although I can't deny that I'm glad things ended like this, since I can be with the girls I love, the blonde said as he caressed the head of the sleeping Lu Fei and Yasaka, who were at his sides, doing when they feel the caress they cling more to Issei, while their smiles do not leave their beautiful faces. Although they are not all of them? Drake said, remembering that point. If I have to go for Sarah-chan, Irina-chan, Ravel-chan, the brunette commented while he saw his girls still asleep. And what will you do with the seraph, the goat, the vampire and the Valkyrie? Drake asked with curiosity. The thing about Gabriel and Pennymu surprised me, that he has feelings for me. So I plan to give them a chance, since I also have feelings for them, although they are not many, if I see them as someone important to me. The brunette answered thoughtfully. Elmenhild has always seemed to me to be a very beautiful woman, so it may be that I think I can reciprocate her feelings, the brunette said with a smile when he remembered how pretty and beautiful Elmenhild was in the past, and he wondered if she became even more beautiful than before. About Roshan, I don't know what you're talking about. Although I've always loved her as more than a friend, I'm not sure if that feeling turned into love, and seeing her happy with her husband makes me feel happy, since I always wanted her. She was happy, and her husband really is a great man. I have no complaints with him, so the only thing I want is for her to keep smiling, the blonde said with a smile when remembering Roswi's. Note: Issei loves Rose more than a friend, but that feeling does not come with love for now. But you realized it, right? Drake commented seriously. Yes. For some reason, I could feel that her heart is in conflict, but she doesn't realize it. The brunette commented seriously. I can say with complete confidence that she was like this long before you first appeared. It's as if Drake couldn't finish since the brunette beat him to it. If I longed or missed something or someone. The brunette finished saying so that Drake nodded. The two of them stayed thinking about that topic until the brunette remembered something. By the way, Drake, what do you think of what Fashion told us last night? The brunette asked seriously. Memory. The brunette and his loved ones were waiting for the magician in the room while they spent a few moments together until after a few hours the magician appears in a magic circle. How did it all end, Fijian? Asked the brunette, receiving the magician with a kiss that she happily received. Well, Issei-sama, there was no problem. The magician answered while giving her beloved husband another kiss. Now that I remember, Lucifer-sama said to contact him, since he wanted to talk about something important. Said the magician, remembering what the Mao told her. You don't know what it was for? The brunette asked with great curiosity. He told me that he wanted to ask you if you would accept a duel with someone named Tiamat. The mage answered calmly, although the brunette was surprised when he heard that name. Thank you very much, Fashion. Now let's go to rest. The brunette said to go with his girls to the bathroom and then to sleep. End of memory. Tiamat, the dragon of karma and chaos, one of the dragon kings and the most powerful. Drake said seriously. Note, I don't know if she is the strongest, but here she is going to be the strongest of the dragon kings. If I remember correctly, you had problems with her. It's not true, the brunette said, remembering a conversation he had with his friend once. Yes, she has killed many of my covered ones when she senses my aura. Drake answered, downplaying the issue. You don't know why? The brunette asked, quite curious. I think it's because I once asked her for her treasure for the fight against Albion, but in the fight the treasure broke. From that moment on she hated me to the bone. Drake answered, remembering that moment. You don't think that if I confront her she will realize your presence because of my aura? The brunette asked seriously. You don't have to worry since you controlled your dragon power. Now you give off your same aura, but with the same essence as before and not mine. For that, you will have to enter Balance Breaker. Drake answered calmly, to which Chestnut was surprised by that information. Then it wouldn't be bad to fight her. The brunette said a little excited. There should be no problems as long as you don't use boosted gear. Even if things get bad, you can enter your perfect dragon mode since that transformation is due to your power and not mine. Drake commented calmly. That's perfect. The brunette said excitedly because even though he doesn't like fighting very much, he needs strong opponents to be able to measure his strength and see what level he is at. It would be better to talk later. Your females are waking up, Drake warned Issei. The brunette looked at his girls again and realized that they were already waking up. Good morning, my beautiful girls, said the brunette, and immediately gave each one a kiss except Lu Fei, who was still asleep. When the girls felt his lips claimed, they did not object and rather returned the kiss. How did the most beautiful women in the world wake up? Asked the brunette, to which they all responded with a big smile. Good. The girls snuggled up again next to the man they loved. Since that day they all had the day off, so they wanted to spend it with their man. Girls, what do you think if we stay in bed for today? The brunette asked, and the girls loved the idea and stayed lying next to their loved one. I'm going to call Tsubaki Naya to come and spend the day with us, since she also has the right to spend the day with her boyfriend Naya, said the Nikomata, to which everyone nodded and called Queen Citri to make her happy. Mind, I accept. After a few moments you can hear the magician waking up with a big smile, and of course, since she was the one who started the night of pleasure, and was also the one who ended it. Good morning, said the magician, still half asleep. Good morning, the girl said, still without leaving Issei and he without saying anything since they were all naked and sleeping in the special room since the night was very eventful. Good morning, Fashion, the blonde said, and then gave the magician who was next to him a kiss. When the magician felt her beloved husband's kiss, she surrounded his neck with her arms to deepen the kiss. The brunette could only smile when he saw his beloved fiancée in that state. Then he felt how two people hugged him, and he realized that they were Kuroka and Lu Fei, who had already recovered some of their breath. Now it's all up to us, the pair of great friends said at the same time, to which the brunette only gave them a smile and prepared to give them what they wanted so much. The day arrived again at our Issei's home. He woke up with 5 girls who were hugging him completely naked, but it should be noted that each of them had a big smile on their face. Who would have thought that things would end that way, said the brunette, remembering that yesterday he spent the entire day and night with his girls, pleasing them and pleasing himself too. Then he felt how the 5 beautiful girls began to wake up. Good morning, girls, the brunette said with a smile on his face. Good morning, Issei, said the now newly awakened girls with a big smile on their faces for the great day-night they spent yesterday. How about you take a bath while I prepare your breakfast, said the brunette, to which they all nodded happily since the brunette cooked very well. The brunette gave a kiss to all the girls who happily accepted, although they had to separate a certain magician who was going to start like the day before, since today they had things to do, and if they left her they would also stay and they wouldn't know when they would come out. All the girls came out after their good morning kiss with a big smile on their faces, and the brunette left to make them breakfast. Remember to talk to the Mao Lucifer to coordinate the fight, Dryag reminded his friend. True, I had forgotten. Thank you, Dreg. The brunette thanked him. The girls came down after a relaxing and calm bath. They started eating breakfast while talking about different things. When they finished, they all went to continue with their duties, Kuroka and Ophis to be teachers, Tsubaki to help her king, Yasaka had to continue teaching her daughter how to govern properly, and Lu Fei went to Revel to see how things were. The brunette was preparing to go to his parents since they agreed to visit them, but he remembered about the fight and took advantage of the moment. He changed into Sujiro and called the red-haired Mao. Oh, Sujiro, what can I do for you? Said the red-haired Mao who appeared in the communication circle. Lucifer, my wife informed me about the meeting with the dragon Tiamat, the blonde informed calmly. And what have you decided, since we would like to be able to see your power if you don't mind, plus she wants to fight you to see if you are really strong. The red-haired Mao communicated with a calm smile. I don't have any problem about the meeting, I just would like to know when it is planned and where it will take place. Asked the blonde. I'm glad you accepted. The meeting could be in 2 weeks in the state that is in the capital of the underworld. The red-haired Mao answered calmly. Perfect then, see you in 2 weeks, said the blonde so that the red-haired Mao could say goodbye and limit the communication. Well, with that topic over, time to go, the brunette said to himself as he went to his parents' house to spend time together. Human world, city of Ku. The brunette was going to buy some things that his mother ordered him after having spent an afternoon with his parents. On the way you could see how all the women were looking at him with a big blush and a look full of lust, but pleasant. It was his surprise to meet the person he least expected when he entered the store. Kiryu, the brunette exclaimed when he saw her brunette friend in the store working as a saleswoman. The aforementioned turned when she heard her name, but her eyes widened as a strong blush formed on her face when she saw who was calling her. Excuse me, sir, I can help you. The brunette asked with some hesitation since she didn't know the person in front of her, but she couldn't deny how stupidly attractive that person was. The brunette was surprised by the question. He thought that he surely doesn't recognize him. Remember that you are dead. It is not surprising that your image does not even cross his mind. Of course, Drake, to which Issei understood the situation better. It's me, Issei, your former classmate, said the brunette, to which the brunette was stunned upon hearing that name. Issei, it's really you. The brunette said, even without believing the words of one of the few true friends she had. If it's me, Kiryu, how are you? The brunette asked with a smile that made the brunette blush, and not only her, the female clients and employees who were present blushed furiously when they saw that man so handsome and even more so smiling. After a few seconds, the brunette saw that her friend looked stupidly handsome: black dress shoes, white dress pants, black long-sleeved shirt and a white vest, making him look extremely sexy. Note, remember that the brunette always goes well dressed wherever he goes, only at home he puts on normal clothes to relax. At that moment, the brunette remembers where she was and how she was dressed, making her feel embarrassed that the brunette saw her that way. When the brunette saw her like that, He was very surprised because he remembers that she was not like that. She is acting as if she wanted to hide from him out of shame, or something similar. But when he was going to say something, a young woman arrived and pushed the brunette away from him, causing her to fall to the ground. But he was surprised that her friend didn't say anything to her and simply stayed on the ground with her head down. The brunette looked again at the young woman who stood in front of him and saw that she was the manager, a very young woman in the brunette's words. She was very well dressed, making her look like a beautiful young woman in front of those present, but in front of the brunette she was only just another ordinary woman. "Excuse me, and that stupid woman has caused you some inconvenience. Please tell me what you need and I will be happy to bring it to you personally," said the young woman with the best smile she could give, making the male clients and employees blush for the beautiful voice of the young woman, while they looked at her with lust when they saw how sexy she was too. However, for the brunette, he simply stared at him without any expression on his face, walked past him without saying anything and went to where his friend was to help him up. This caused the young woman to have an unpleasant moment, and make an expression of disgust at what the brunette could perceive. "Why do you let them treat you like that?" the brunette said, helping his friend get up, to which she simply looked down at the ground. The brunette was totally speechless. He wanted his friend to answer him, but he stopped talking when he saw some bruises on her arms and neck, a sign of physical assault. "Kiryu, who did this to you?" the brunette said with a soft voice, but the brunette remained silent and looking at the ground. "Kiryu, I will repeat it to you again, who did this to you?" the brunette asked again, but this time a little louder and a sign of anger in his voice. But even so the brunette remained silent without saying anything while she looked down like that. Pain, sadness, anger were some of the feelings that the brunette was feeling at that moment. "Well, from what I see you're not going to tell me anything. I'm going to wait for you in the park that was in front of the store when you get off work. I want you to tell me what happened to you and I'm not going to leave until I have my answers," said the brunette, leaving the store without letting the brunette object. The brunette went to the park and created a clone of him when no one saw him. He went to another place to buy what his mother told him to do, while with the original he sat on a bench where he could see the store perfectly. He closed the doors. Eisen waited until the brunette left her work hours. It was already late at night. The brunette had called his girls and explained the situation to them so they wouldn't worry, to which they all frowned at what they had heard. They all agreed that he should look for an answer. The brunette thanked your girls and then I continued waiting. "I'm not liking this at all," said the brunette to himself, seeing how late it was and his friend was still working. After waiting a little longer, he could feel the brunette quickly moving away from the store as if she were running or escaping, but he could tell that it wasn't because of him. She immediately opened her eyes and went to chase her friend. Kiryu was running towards his house hoping that nothing happens to him and he can get home safely. Unfortunately, as she was passing through an alley and a group of people surrounded her, the brunette was terrified when she saw this. "But look what we have here," said one of the people with a smile. "Kiryu, how long has it been since we saw each other?" said another person with a sinister smile. "You had us very abandoned," said another person in the group with false sadness. "Please don't hurt me," the brunette said while tears ran down her cheeks. "That's up to you, Kiryu, if you do what we say," said the first person as his smile grew bigger, making the brunette start to tremble with fear and more tears ran down her cheeks. "But first, we have to give you a lesson for disobeying us," said the leader of the group, about to hit the brunette, making her cry more and close her eyes because of the fear she had. But the blow never came. Opening his eyes with some fear, he saw that someone had been hit. "Who the hell are you, you bastard?" said the leader of the group with disgust. The brunette simply completely ignored that comment, and with a crack he broke the wrist of the group leader, causing him to let out a loud scream of pain, falling to the ground while holding his wrist. Issei approached the brunette, who was looking at him with a certain longing and hope in her eyes, making the brunette feel how his heart ached hard to see her in that state. He imagined everything he had to have gone through to reach such a deteriorated state, since before he also noticed that his friend was extremely skinny, making the brunette worry about her health. "Don't worry, everything is fine now. They will never hurt you again," the brunette said in a whisper as he hugged the brunette, who upon hearing it began to cry loudly into his chest while she felt how the hug made her feel safe and protected, as if all that nightmare that you have been living these last 2 years is over. His body immediately collapsed after just a few seconds of crying in his arms, making the brunette think that his body was already at the limit a long time ago. He placed the brunette leaning against the wall very carefully while he got up and turned to see the group of people who were helping their boss recover. All of them felt a great murderous instinct and immediately looked back at where the brunette was, causing the 10 people to begin to tremble with fear. Some of them had even wet their pants from the terror they felt at that moment, and this was that apart from the brunette's murderous instinct, he looked at them with an expression of complete anger and fury, while his eyes were like those of a dragon. "You will all pay for what you have done to her," said the brunette with great fury, who immediately launched himself against the 10 people. With a kick, he sent one to crash against a wall, causing him to immediately spit up blood. But before he fell to the ground or screamed from the pain, he received a strong blow to the ribs that broke all of them immediately, causing him to fall, knocked out by the intense pain. With his speed he appeared behind another who immediately hit him with a low paw, breaking his leg in 3 different places, causing him to let out a cry of pain that was silenced when he hit him in the face, breaking his entire nose. One of them, who had come out of shock, tried to hit him so that the brunette stopped the blow with one hand and with the other he hit him on the elbow, breaking it immediately, but he didn't even have time to scream when he hit him again in the face, breaking his jaw and knocking out several teeth, leaving him knocked out. The other people in the group who were watching how the brunette hit his friends were completely terrified. He did not show any mercy to any of them. They wanted to run away, but they were so afraid that their legs wouldn't stop shaking. The brunette continued with the massacre without any remorse. He wanted to kill all those trashes, but since there were so many of them, he could later get into trouble with the faction since killing humans is not allowed. However, that did not prevent him from hitting and breaking the bones of all that garbage, making the damage irreparable. At the end of the massacre, only the leader of the group remained holding his broken wrist. "Well, you piece of trash, now the only one left is you," said the brunette without any sign of feeling. Please don't hurt me," said the boss while crying inconsolably. Hearing that, the brunette got even angrier and grabbed him by the neck. "She told you the same thing, but did you listen?" the brunette said coldly, while the boss remained silent. "Answer me," the brown man shouted, stepping on the subject's leg, immediately breaking it, causing him to scream in pain. "How many times did she ask you not to hurt her? How many times?" The last thing was shouted with great anger. The subject was only crying because of the pain he felt. "Answer me," the brunette shouted again, stepping on the other leg of the subject, who let out another cry of pain. "You're a damn piece of trash. If for my strength I would kill you right here," said the emotionless brunette, making the boss tremble in terror as he continued crying. "Listen, damn garbage, and listen to me very well because I'm only going to repeat it once. If I ever realize that you did this again with another person or with herself, I will kill you in the worst possible way. I don't want to see you in my presence again. Because if I see you again, you will wish you were dead," said the brunette before breaking his arm, making the guy faint as he could no longer bear the pain. The brunette sees him again with complete disgust and goes to where the brunette was, who gently lifts her like a princess, causing her to let out several tears when she feels the heat of the brunette. And when the brunette sees them, his heart begins to hurt. He begins to apply senjutsu to gradually heal the brunette's battered body. While creating a magic circle he leaves in it, leaving the alley with 10 seriously injured people and a deep silence where before screams of pain could be heard. Human world. Hayato Mansion. The brunette appears at the entrance of his house. The girls were waiting for him, and when they felt his aura they went to receive him with a smile. But they were surprised to see who he was carrying in his arms. Their surprise came to an end when they saw the state of the house. Issei, each one of them drowned out a cry of pain and sadness. They had never seen anything like this, not even Ophis, who had lived so long. Tears began to run down her cheeks as the brunette's condition was extremely critical. She had dark circles under her eyes, a sign that she had not slept in a long time. She had bruises all over her body and she was extremely thin, a sign of malnutrition. They really didn't even know how the brunette was still alive. The girls realized that their lover was applying senjutsu to him to recover a little, but only Kuroka and Yasaka realized that they did not know the method he was using. They thought that it is surely a higher level than the one they handle at the moment. "Ophis-chan, Facian, please take Kiryu to take a bath," The brunette said, to which the aforementioned immediately accepted and took the brunette very carefully to take a bath. Yasu-chan, Kurok-chan, please accompany them, and while they bathe her, treat her body with senjutsu, said the brunette, to which the two you guys nodded and went behind the magician and the dragon. The brunette went up to his room, took a quick shower, changed and waited for his girls. Note: each of the girls has their own separate room, including Issei, to have their personal things, but they never use them to sleep at night since they fall asleep in the special room with their brunette by their side afterwards of a batch of pleasure. In the bathroom, the girls were washing the brunette's body with extreme care while they all remained silent, since they could see the state her entire body was in, and it should be said that none of them could pronounce words. Lu Fei and Ophis washed with extreme care so as not to hurt the body of the brunette, who was still unconscious, while Kuroka and Yasaka injected senjutsu to make her recover little by little, although they also realized that they could not do much since the brunette had very damaged her entire body, both externally and internally, since some of her organs were not working well. The two of them understood why their lover asked them to come help, since he was afraid that the brunette's body would fail, and she could die because of how delicate she was. Even they still wondered how the brunette was still alive with all the damage her body had. After a long bath where they finished cleaning the brunette's body, they took her to the room of her lover who was waiting for them. When they entered, no one said anything. They all understood that it was neither the time nor the place to say something. They laid the brunette on her lover's bed, to which he lay down next to her, and immediately when the brunette felt that presence, and that calm and protective feeling that came from the brunette, she clung to him even though she was unconscious, like if I wanted him to never leave her alone. The brunette, seeing this action, simply hugged the brunette, who, upon feeling the hug, snuggled even closer into Issei's chest. The girls didn't say anything when they saw this. The brunette's condition had them very worried, but they saw that their lover was smiling at them. They calmed down, knowing that their lover would take care of the brunette's recovery. He called each of his dear girls and gave them a goodnight kiss, to which they all gladly received it. When they were about to leave, they saw once again their beloved and the brunette, who were surrounded by a cape, very fine senjutsu, to which they understood that their beloved had already begun the treatment of Issei. The girls left without saying or making any noise so as not to distract their lover and Kuroka, and Yasaka's told them that this technique that her lover was using was actually very difficult and complex, since by surrounding the entire body with natural energy, the brunette had you have to concentrate on properly putting the necessary amount on each damaged point. His stomach needed a different amount than his lungs. His leg muscles needed a different amount than his arm muscles. Each part of his body needed an exact but different amount for it to recover properly. If you added more energy or less energy to a place, be it a lung, it could be damaged forever, causing death. It's not the same as what you have always done, a very curious magician asked, to which the you guys shook their heads as they left the room. Once outside the room, the you guys explained to the other girls that before they used natural energy to heal themselves, but they only let the natural energy enter their bodies and the energy healed them without doing anything. However, with the training of his beloved, all that had changed. They told them that their loved one had taught them to direct that energy exactly where you really need it, to gather it and heal a single point, causing the damage to be healed instantly, and then making that area stronger than before. When they said that they were surprised but they didn't say anything else, they understood that this technique was very complicated and very risky. 2 days had already passed since the brunette began treating the brunette. It is worth saying that the girls were very worried about the two brunettes. At this moment the girls were having lunch with their beloved, who came down to eat something, but the girls kept looking at him with a look of sadness and concern. These days they stayed in the house. None of them had gone out to do their homework. Lu Fei notified the company that her loved one could not attend to any matter and gave the authority to the presidents of each building to make the correct decision. Yasaka told her daughter that she couldn't go, which she was surprised about, but told her that it's okay. Kuroka and Ophis went to talk to Sona about not attending the academy, where they explained the situation to her, and she immediately agreed, and they left immediately, followed by Queen Citri, who was also very worried about the situation. Issei, why don't you take a break? The dragon asked when she saw the state of her lover. At first glance, the brunette was tired. He had circles under his eyes, a sign that he had not slept at all since the treatment requires his full attention, making him awake all night and day. I can't. Office John Kiryu is in very bad condition, the brunette said with a worried voice. It's so bad, the black-haired Citri asked with concern. More than that, her body is in an extreme state. The only reason why she was still alive was because her mind had turned aside and ignored the state of her body to protect itself from whatever had been happening to her. That's why her body was always so rigid. The brunette answered with a look at the ground because of the sadness he had at not being able to do anything before. Now that his body relaxed, it can be said that his mind connected with the state of his body, causing it to collapse due to the desire it had, said the brunette, making everyone remain silent when listening to what his lover said. Kiryu would have already died if she went to a normal hospital. There is no treatment for her body anymore. Even I had to leave her in a state of living death to help her, since it is very dangerous for her to regain consciousness even a little, because it can lead to death without me being able to do anything, Kiryu finished saying with a voice of pure sadness and concern. Upon hearing that, the girls understood that the matter was much more serious than they thought. The brunette withdrew since he had to continue with the treatment. The girls remained silent, while their lover left. They all felt so useless, mainly Kuroka and Yasaka, that despite knowing senjutsu they couldn't do anything just because of their lack of knowledge. They promised to train harder to help their loved one if another situation similar to this occurs, but for now they could only sit and wait, while their frustration grew since this technique is very advanced for them, and although their lover had been training them they only understood the basics of it. Note: Yusaka has great power and excellent use of senjutsu. Not for nothing was she the leader of the yokais, but there are even techniques that even she is unaware of. The treatment continued. It had been 3 days since the brunette brought the brunette to his house. On that day Irina arrived for her training, but when she arrived they explained the situation to her, and she immediately became worried about the situation, so she stayed in the room. Issei house hoping everything goes well. 2 more days had passed and the girls were still worried about the situation since their lover had not left the room and they did not dare to enter for fear of interrupting and that something would go wrong. That same night of 5th day since the treatment began, we can see a brunette leaving the room. He immediately felt the presence of Irina, who was with her girls. He thought that it was not yet the time to show himself to her, so he changed his mind again to Sujiro and went down to the room where the girls were. When the girls saw him they immediately went to him and hugged him, while their eyes had slight traces of wanting to cry. Even Irina went to hug him since he had become someone very important and special to her, although she didn't know to what extent. This was because her beloved looked very tired with dark circles under his eyes from not being able to sleep for 5 days. Seeing them like this, the blonde could only smile and feel happy to have people who love him and care about him. Although with the brunette, he was surprised by her reaction, but he let it go. Don't worry, girls, everything is fine. I was able to make Kiryu's body completely recover. Now he is only asleep, recovering from his mental fatigue from having endured everything that had happened to him. The blonde informed with a sad smile, to which they all nodded and calmed down somewhat. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's very late, and I haven't slept in 5 days, the blonde said with a calm smile. He first went to take a bath and then went to sleep in the special room with only a pair of pants on. Note: Issei is tired not because he didn't sleep, but because the technique he applied depended a lot on his concentration. The girls arrived an hour later, each in their sleeping clothes. They were surprised that he was still in his Sujiro costume, and they thought he was too tired to take it off. They laid down on his sides to sleep with him, and even though he was in his shirt they only approached him looking for his affection and love, since they had not been with him for 5 long days. When the blonde felt his girls, he brought them closer to him so that they all snuggled closer to him in search of his warmth, and after just 10 minutes they were all fast asleep. On another side of the house, Irina was in her own room trying to sleep, but she couldn't, so she got up and went to the other girls' room to see if they had fallen asleep yet, but she didn't find any of them in her room. Then she remembered that not long ago one of them had told her that they always sleep in a special room with their loved one, so she went to where they had told her it was. When he arrived he hesitated for a moment whether to open it, but then he decided and opened it. He was surprised to see how big the room was. It had a mural of all the fractions painted on the walls, making it look really beautiful. The entire floor was covered in a spongy and very comfortable mattress, and he also realized that the room had several spells and seals such as privacy and ambient temperature. The brunette was amazed by the room. She looked through the center of the room and could see the blonde who was fast asleep and her friends who were being hugged by blonde. For a moment the brunette felt jealous, but not jealous that they were like that with the blonde, but rather jealous that she couldn't be like that with him. And after a long debate in her mind about whether to go out and leave them or go to them and sleep next to the blonde, the brunette decided to go to them, and after closing the door she approached slowly looking for even a slight field to lie down on, but she saw that there was none. She was sad and was going to leave, but then she felt like the dragon that had woken up when the brunette entered the room. I pull her towards her, making it difficult for her to lie down. The brunette couldn't say or do anything when she was already lying down sleeping on a part of the blonde's chest, holding back the dragon that was watching her. Ophis gave a smile that calmed the brunette since she was very nervous, and she prepared to go back to sleep. Irina saw how the dragon fell asleep again. She wanted to leave there, but for some reason her body did not respond. She blushed a lot when she knew where she was lying. He looked up to see the face of the blonde who was deeply asleep. She smiled, and without realizing it, she began to fall asleep after feeling the peace and tranquility that the blonde gave off. It made her feel comfortable. How comfortable! With that thought, the brunette fell into Morphos's arms. The next morning, we can see Issei waking up from a good night's rest. He was glad that he was a dragon with high regeneration. He realized that he was completely immobilized. And when he looked around, he realized that all his girls were by his side. He just smiled when he saw them like that. It seems like they missed me all this time, the blonde thought when he saw them with a smile on their faces. No wonder they are your females, Drake commented calmly. What do you mean, Drake? The blonde asked curiously. They are already marked by you. Not feeling close to you for so long, their instincts told them to go look for you, but since they knew they couldn't, those instincts intensified, Drake answered calmly. When you were within reach, they immediately went to look for your warmth. Drake finished saying, It seems like it really worries them a lot, the blonde said, looking at his girls. In fact, not only them, look at your chest, Drake reported, to which the blonde was surprised by that. Issei pays attention to his friend and looks at his chest, only to be surprised to find his childhood friend lying peacefully with a big smile on his chest. It seems that her heart has already recognized you, but she has not realized it, Drake said while smiling slightly. At that moment the blonde panics, knowing that the brunette already knows who he is. Don't worry, I don't know if you noticed, but last night you didn't take off your costume, so your identity is still safe, Drake finished saying. Issei checked himself and confirmed that he was indeed still like Sujiro. He was mentally happy to know that fact. The girls began to wake up when they felt their lover's movement. Good morning, my beautiful princesses, the blonde said with a smile, to which everyone blushed at his compliment, since although what woman doesn't like her lover to compliment her? Good morning, they all said, to which the blonde gave them a good morning kiss, which they happily received since they missed that feeling. The brunette who was still asleep on the blonde's chest began to wake up, which everyone realized. Good morning, Irina. The brunette heard it. She looked at the blonde again, who was smiling at her. Then she looked at the other girls who were looking at her with a mischievous smile. He immediately understood the situation he was in. A strong blush formed on his beautiful face. And I'm not the same, it seems, the brunette was trying to say, completely embarrassed by the situation, but the girls just giggled a little when they saw the brunette like that. Don't worry, Irina, you're part of our family, the blonde said, caressing the brunette's head, who blushed even more because of how embarrassed she was. The brunette lowered her head because she was so ashamed, she wanted the earth to swallow her. Well, girls, what do you think if we go down to have breakfast? The blonde said, to which everyone nodded happily. They began to go down to the dining room while the blonde went to see Kiryu's condition. He was calm, knowing that he was improving little by little. The girls waited for their beloved to have breakfast with him. Even Irina was waiting for him. When he arrived, they began to have breakfast quietly. They asked him how Kiryu was doing, to which the blonde answered that he was getting better little by little and maybe in a few days he could wake up. That made all the girls very happy, and it made Irina extremely happy that her friend was recovering, But she was also sad to know everything that her friend had to go through alone since she forgot about being with her ex-boyfriend. She clenched her fists in frustration at not having done anything for her friend that did not go unnoticed by the blonde who started talking to her later. The day passed calmly. The blonde spent the entire day with his girls and with Irina, who had stayed at the blonde's house since she did not want to get away from him, something that greatly missed the brunette. At the end of the day, Irina left, although everyone could see that she did not want to leave, which caused all the girls to have a smile on their face when they saw their friend's attitude. The days passed peacefully. Irina arrived every other day at the blonde's house with the pretext to see how Kiryu was doing. Of course, everyone could see his ulterior motives when he spoke to his beloved, but all that ended when the brunette was training in the back of the house. She decided that it was too much for today, so she decided to enter the house. But when she entered, she found the scene that the girls were hugging and kissing the blonde. With the naked eye, she could see all the love that the blonde gave them. Whether it was a kiss, a caress, or simply a look, it was full of pure love. At that moment, the brunette felt her heart start to hurt when she saw that scene. Although she didn't know why, since it wasn't the first time, she still didn't accept it. A tear ran down her cheek as she denied that fact. She ran to where she was training. Both the blonde and his girls saw that scene. "Issei, I think it's time, don't you think?" the dragon commented as she got off the blonde's legs. "I think you're right," the blonde said, to stand up and go look for the brunette. The girls just hoped that everything would go well since they didn't know how the brunette was going to react. Leaving the girls in the living room, the blonde went out to look for the brunette, who was training a little away from the house. With the naked eye, he could see how she still had tears running down her cheeks. "Irina," the blonde called. What? The brunette immediately wiped her tears when she heard it. "Yes," she answered with a big smile that the blonde could see was fake. The blonde didn't say anything. He simply walked to where the brunette was and hugged her very affectionately. Immediately when the brunette felt the hug full of affection, tears ran down her cheeks while her heart began to beat rapidly. Because every time he hugs me, because every time he looks at me and talks to me, my heart feels so happy." "Why?" the brunette thought while in the blonde's arms. "Because," the brunette whispered while she didn't stop crying. "Why does this have to happen to me?" the brunette said again, crying. "Why does my heart betray me?" "I finished saying Kiryu." The blonde was simply hugging her while listening to everything she said. It hurt him a lot to see her in that state. "Irina, the blonde was going to say something, but the brunette interrupted him. "Because? Why did I have to fall in love with you? Why does my heart hurt not to have you around?" screams the brunette, crying inconsolably. "I only wanted to marry Issei-kun and be able to start a family by his side," but the brunette was trying to say, but the pain in her chest wouldn't let her. "I know I failed him. I know I don't deserve it," but the brunette finished saying while crying even more. She couldn't take it anymore. The pain she had in her heart was too much. She didn't want to fall in love with the blonde. What she wanted was simply to wait for her beloved brunette and be able to realize the dream she had since she was a child, that dream that the two of them promised. Realize the dream of having a family. But everything went wrong. She forgot about her beloved Issei. She forgot about that dream she had. She forgot everything and went with another man. When she finally recovered those feelings she had for her lover and remembered that promise they made, she was very happy to think that maybe, just maybe, she can make that promise come true. But not everything is what it seems. After recovering those feelings, she spent time with the blonde, making her fall more and more in love with him, and without realizing it, she was already in love with him. The blonde only listened as the brunette vent, while tears ran down her cheeks knowing when she loved him. "Why does my heart betray me again and again?" the brunette asked while she looked into the eyes of the blonde, who was also staring at her. But when the brunette was going to say something again, the blonde couldn't take it anymore and gave her a kiss on her lips, greatly surprising the brunette by the action. She wanted to push him away, but for some reason her heart felt happy and calm. Tears ran down her cheeks as she felt how the blonde gave her that kiss full of love and affection. She involuntarily wrapped her arms around the blonde's neck to deepen the kiss, while the blonde hugged her waist to bring her closer to him and deepen the kiss further. The brunette continued with the kiss while tears ran down her cheeks without stopping. When they separated, each one looked into each other's eyes. The blonde's eyes expressed deep love, the brunette's expressed happiness for some reason, but also a little sadness. I don't betray your heart. It has never betrayed you, my beautiful angel, the blonde said as he ran his hands over the brunette's cheeks, drying her tears. The brunette was confused by the words, and when she felt the blonde's caress, she simply let him while she felt how his hands caressed her with love. Forgive me for not having told you before, the blonde said as he continued caressing the cheeks of the brunette who was still looking at him. Then he moved away from her a little. When the brunette was about to say something, she saw how a magic circle formed at the blonde's feet and began to rise, little by little changing his appearance. When the magic circle finished changing her and showing her true identity, the brunette had her eyes wide open while her heart began to beat rapidly, and her eyes filled with tears. She stood looking at him for a few moments without saying anything. She stretched out her hand little by little, trying to take the one who was now in front of her, hoping it wasn't a dream or a joke. The brunette took the brunette's hand and touched it to her cheeks so she could see that it really wasn't a dream and it was really him who was in front of her. The moment the brunette felt the brunette's touch, her eyes began to water again. Her heart beat faster, wishing her lord that for whatever reason it wasn't a dream. Forgive me for not. The brunette was going to say, but he couldn't since the brunette started to hug him tightly as if his life depended on her. The brunette stayed there without saying anything. He just wrapped the brunette in his embrace, making her cling to him tighter. You know how worried I was, the brunette said, moving away from the brunette a little while looking at him with teary eyes. The brunette was going to say something, but the brunette didn't let him. She started hitting his chest as a sign of reproach. You know about everything that happened. You know how worried I was. You know the suffering you caused me when you left, the brunette said while continuing to hit the brunette's chest as a sign of reproach. And I know I don't have the right but, said the brunette, stopping hitting the brunette's chest and then hugging him again, but this time harder. Please forgive me for what I did. I can't live without you. You are everything to me, the brunette said, crying on Issei's chest, although it was more of a plea than a request. Please don't leave me. I don't mind sharing you. I don't mind being the last. I don't mind not receiving your love. But please let me be, even if it's by your side. The brunette begged with all her heart for fear of losing him again. The brunette at that moment had a lump in his throat. He remembered everything that had happened to the brunette. He remembered everything she said in the cemetery. He remembered their conversation on the balcony. And he also remembered all the times she has cried for him. He hugged the brunette tightly with a lot of love and affection. She had already suffered a lot, and he had already forgiven her too. I'm never going to leave you again. I'm always going to be here with you, said the brunette while he consoled the brunette who was losing herself in the sensation of being embraced by the person she loves again, although he knew that she didn't deserve it. And you don't have to say you won't receive my love or if I forgive you, since I forgave you a long time ago, and if you are going to be with me, whether you want it or not, you are going to have to receive the same love as everyone else, said the brunette with a smile. While the brunette cried happily for having forgiven her, and for allowing her to be by her side even though she had to deal with her love. But I have no right to have your love. The brunette was interrupted as the brunette gave her a kiss, shutting her up, to which when she felt her lips being claimed by her beloved brunette, more tears flowed down her face. Don't say that again. I love you and I will give you the same love as everyone else. This time you won't have to fight to be the first or be afraid of being the last. This time you will be the first just like everyone else. That they are all the first in my heart, and I love them all equally. The brunette told her with a deep voice full of love that the brunette couldn't stop crying. She was wondering if it was really okay for her to receive his love, his affection, but when she saw the brunette smile at her in that tender and affectionate way, her heart couldn't take it anymore, and she started to kiss the brunette with all her love. This time, I wasn't going to leave him. This time I was going to be with him at all times. I promise you that this time I will not leave you. If you die, I die. If you live, I live. If you suffer, I suffer. If you smile, I smiled. I don't care what is going to happen later. I will always be with you no matter what, was the brunette's thought before losing herself again in the warmth that the brunette's lips gave her as he hugged her. And so they stayed for a few hours where Issei calmed the brunette and told her everything that had happened with him and why it can't be revealed yet, making the brunette understand, although the whole time the brunette was completely red since after calming down she was able to see the brunette better, and she couldn't deny that he looked quite handsome and it didn't help that he was hugging her, allowing the brunette to feel his shapely chest and strong arms. Night was already falling in the Haida mansion, and we can see how the brunette with his girls were spending time together. Of course, there was also Irina, who was going to start living there since she wanted to spend as much time as possible with her beloved brunette. At first, the brunette apologized to the other girls for what happened, but they didn't take it seriously and welcomed the brunette with open arms with a big smile. The brunette smiled while crying a little about that, since she never thought she would have friends like that, although now she sees them more as sisters than just friends. After that moment when the brunette confessed and Issei accepted her, 2 days passed that were the happiest for her. That same night, the other brunette, who was resting in Issei's room, was waking up from her long and recovered sleep. Kiryu was slowly waking up in a room that she didn't recognize. She immediately began to get scared that they would find her kidnapped and start beating her like they had done before. He tried to stand up but immediately fell to the ground as his body was still too weak. He heard someone coming. He was scared that it was someone who would cause him a lot. He crawled to a corner of the room while tears ran down his cheeks. When they opened the door, the brunette could see a very beautiful girl with blonde hair. Lupe was going to check on the brunette, but was surprised to not find her in bed. Then she noticed that the brunette was in the corner of the room. She was going to go help her, but when she took a step she saw that the brunette started to shake. He imagined that he had not yet recovered psychologically. She went out to look for the brunette. He was the only one who could calm her down and maybe help her. The brunette saw how that blonde girl ran out and left the door open. She wanted to run away, but her body didn't respond. She thought they had done something to her. She started crying harder because she was afraid of what was going to happen to her from now on. She heard how someone came running and started crying even more out of fear. Then she saw how that girl returned with a man who, when he saw her, went to her direction, making the brunette start to tremble because that man would do something to her. But she was surprised that that man hugged her. "Calm down, Kiryu. It's me, Issei. I'm here. And I promise you that nothing bad is going to happen to you," the brunette said as he hugged her and tried to calm the brunette. Issei. It was the only thing the brunette said to see the brunette, who saw her with a smile full of affection, causing her to start crying and hug the brunette tightly as if it were the only thing she had left in her life. It didn't take long when the brunette fell unconscious from crying so much. Her body was not well, she was barely recovering, but now that she woke up she would recover faster. Regarding her trauma, the brunette thought that she could heal, but she would need time and a lot of support, which he was willing to do. To give it to her, in addition to the affection that she so longed for, he carefully lifted the brunette and put her back in her bed. He told his beloved that he was going to take care of her tonight, to which the magician said nothing and nodded to tell the other girls. The brunette slept with her for fear that she would wake up and ration like now. The brunette barely felt the brunette's embrace, and she clung to him again as if it were the only thing she had left in her life. He didn't care and rather brought the brunette closer to him to make her feel loved and protected. The night passed peacefully and the morning was coming. Issei had already woken up, but he did not get up since the brunette had him hugged very well and he did not want to wake her up. After a few minutes the brunette was waking up, but she was surprised when she felt that someone was hugging her. She opened her eyes and saw that it was a brunette that she couldn't identify since he was without his glasses. Immediately a fear began to invade her, and she quickly walked away from that man, but the brunette held her because she was going to fall onto the bed and hugged her. The brunette tried to get away, but I still felt her body was very weak. "Kiryu, it's me, Issei, calm down," the brunette said to reassure the brunette, who was glad internally that he could already see how she calmed down. The brunette handed her some glasses that were on a table near the bed, and the brunette put them on so she could see well. At that moment she remembered everything she had been through, how she was cornered by those guys and how he was about to hit her again, but the brunette came to her aid and then she couldn't remember anything. She saw the brunette again, who was looking at her with a look of concern. She immediately started to hug him and cry on his chest, while she told him that she was very afraid, to which the brunette only hugged her while telling her that everything was over. He was fine and that they will never hurt him again, making the brunette cling to him more while crying more. After a few minutes later, where the brunette was calmer, she again saw the place she was in. It was a very large but also very beautiful room, plus she was lying on a fairly large bed. "Hayato, what is this place?" the brunette asked, looking at the large room again. Well, this is my house and here is my room, the brunette answered, greatly surprising the brunette for having such a big room. Come on, I imagine you have it open, let's go down to have breakfast. Plus, you've been sleeping for almost a week. You need to eat so you can get better faster, said the brunette with an outstretched hand and a smile. Now that you mention it, because I feel so weak, and why am I wearing this? The brunette said, pointing to her clothes since she had louvre pajamas that fit perfectly. The thing about the pajamas, don't worry, I won't change it. It was my wife and my fiancé, along with my girlfriends, who helped you change, and the pajamas belong to my wife, said the brunette as if it were nothing. Well, that's because your body when I found you was very damaged. I spent almost 5 days helping you recover with magic and senjutsu. That's why your body feels weak, because your mind is completely healed. The only thing you need is something to eat and a little rest to recover energies, the brunette said, greatly surprising the brunette, who immediately checked her body and was even more surprised to know that she no longer had the bruises or marks on her. In addition to the fact that now she no longer felt sick, she just didn't have the strength. A few tears began to run down her cheeks again as she remembered everything that had happened to her. But then she was surprised to see how the brunette hugged her, bringing her closer to him. You don't have to worry anymore. Now I'm here and nothing and no one is going to hurt you again, that's what I swear, he said in the ear of the brunette, who, upon hearing him, began to shed a few tears, but was now happy to know that now I wasn't going to be alone. Come on, let's introduce you to the girls, the brunette said as he stood up and stretched out his hand again for the brunette to take it. I hesitate a little, but then I take it. The brunette picks her up like a princess and takes her out of the room. The brunette was totally upset because of how the brunette carried her. But her attention went around her as she marveled at how beautiful her friend's house is. Hayadu, seriously, this is your house? The brunette asked with doubt, since it was a fairly large house but not so exaggerated because it was very beautiful. I know it's hard to believe, but if this is my house, I live here with my wife, my fiancé, and my 3 girlfriends, although I have another one, but she doesn't live here, the brunette answered with a funny smile when he saw the brunette's face. Remember that I am very influential in the supernatural world, said the brunette, to which the brunette now understood everything. By the way, that's what happened to you. I didn't believe that you had really died. But when I asked about you, they stayed silent or told me that you had died. No one really told me what happened, the brunette asked with great doubt and curiosity. Well, to summarize, I was trapped in a dimension until I was able to get out. But when I got out I realized that 10 had already passed. Well, at least that's the short version. I'll tell you the long version at another time, said the brunette with a smile as they arrived at the dining room. The brunette nodded with satisfaction because although the explanation was brief, she finally understood something about what had happened to her. I only hope that one day I will tell her everything in detail. The pair of brown hair arrived while eating, although Kiryu was red with embarrassment because of how Issei carried her. When they entered, the brunette was surprised to see 5 beautiful women. Before anyone said anything, Irina ran out to hug the brunette with tears in her eyes. Please forgive me. I didn't know anything about what had happened to you. Although I know that I don't deserve your forgiveness, I want you to know that you will never have to go through that again, said the reincarnated angel with tears in her eyes and a tone deeply hurt. Everyone present was surprised by that, but what really surprised them was feeling all the pain, sadness, and guilt that the words had. Kiryu was very surprised by that, and although she certainly felt a little anger, it disappeared because it really wasn't her fault, and she could also feel all the pain and regret that the brunette had. She made a sign to the brunette to put her down, so he put her down and hugged the brunette, who had not let go of her while she was crying. Don't worry, I don't have to forgive you. Although I have to admit that I like being with the support of my friends, I can't blame you since you had your own life, so you have to apologize for something that is not your fault, Kiryu said, while she hugged Irina and tried to console her, since she knew that because she was an angel the guilt she had was going to be greater even if she didn't have it. Everyone in the room was quiet to let their friend vent. They knew that she had made many mistakes and not only forgot the brunette, but she also forgot all her real friends. A few minutes passed in which Kiryu tried to calm the angel down while she was crying and kept asking for forgiveness until she was finally able to calm the angel down, and her heart felt happy to see that the angel really appreciated her a lot. "Well, Kiryu, let me introduce you," said the brunette, drawing the attention of the brunette and the other girls. "This is Le Fay Pendragon, one of the most powerful magicians in the world, if not the most powerful, and currently my only wife for the moment." I introduced the brunette to the magician, who raised her hand with a smile, greeting her and surprising the brunette, since before she could see everyone present, but it was only a quick glance, and she could tell that they were all beautiful women. But now, seeing the blonde magician, she was surprised, since she really was a very, very beautiful woman with a beautiful face and a great body. She is Ophisaroboros. She is one of the 3 dragon gods, and she is the only woman of them, currently my only fiancée at the moment. He presented the brunette to the dragon, who only gave him a sincere smile, and the brunette returned the greeting, although he could not help but be even more surprised, since he was in front of a being who had the name God in his name. Next is Kuroka, Kaniko's older sister, and one of my 4 girlfriends present to the Nakamoto, who gave him a mischievous smile that for some reason felt that he could get along very well with her. This is Yasaka, former leader of the U guys and currently one of my 4 girlfriends. I introduced the kitsune, who greeted her calmly. The brunette was very surprised by this, since in front of her was a former leader of an entire race. The last but not least, you already know Irina, the ace of the leader of heaven and one of my 4 girlfriends. The blonde introduced the angel, who was hugging the brunette tightly, since she still had some guilt for everything that happened past. The brunette was in total shock, and it was no less, since in front of her were beings that could easily erase a country, a dragon goddess, a former leader of an entire race, and the strongest magician in the world. And if we add that Irina is one of the people who is most likely to be the leader of heaven, and let's not forget Kuroka, who was quite surprised to find out that she is the sister of Kaniko, who had previously shown her strength. I imagine that because she is his sister, and older, she would be even more powerful of her. But at that moment he remembered something. 4, but Hayadu, and here there are only 3 girlfriends because you say 4? The brunette asked with quite interest, to which the brunette only smiled because of that. The other person doesn't live with me, so he's not here, but you'll surely meet him later. The brunette answered with a smile, to which the brunette nodded, although she was curious who it was. Going back to before, girls, I present to you Ika Kiryu, one of the few people I can say is a friend. She will currently live with us indefinitely, so I hope you get along well," said the brunette, to which he received a hi of all, but Kiryu was a little dazed by that. "Hayadu, how come I'm going to live here? I can't do that. I'm already grateful that you helped me, and I also need to go back to work," said the brunette. Although just by listening to her, you could tell that she didn't want to in the least. "Do you think I'm going to let you go like that and go to work in that place if you can barely stand up? You're going to stay here so you can fully recover, and because I don't want what happened before to be repeated, that's why I hate it. Take care of yourself, forget about your work, that's already fixed, and you won't go back to work. If you want to work later, we can, but now the important thing is your health, and I'm not going to accept no for an answer," the brunette said firmly, leaving the room alone. Brunette without actions, although she was really happy to be able to have someone to trust and a place where she can rest without thinking that at any moment someone is going to come in and hurt her. "Thank you," the brunette whispered, but she had a smile on her face. Those present could hear it through their senses, making everyone go up, since they knew that the brunette's life had not been pretty at all, and they were happy that now she can be happy and calm. After that moment, everyone sat down to have breakfast while she talked calmly. The brunette was happy that his friend talked to the other girl, since that meant that she could adapt to her new life, since the brunette was not going to allow her to return to that hole in which he lived, and he was not going to allow him to live again the way he lived. After that morning where everyone talked calmly, the days continued to pass normally. The brunette adapted little by little, and her health improved, since she could now walk, although she got tired very quickly since her body was still weak. In those days, he was able to meet the brunette's other girlfriend. It should be said that when he saw her, he was so surprised that it was the former vice president of his former academy. But what surprised him most was seeing the love that all the girls had for the brunette, and how he showed them his love either without words, details, or sometimes a simple caress showed all the love that the brunette felt for his girls. When she saw them, it didn't affect her in the slightest, but as time went by she felt a little jealous not having the brunette, but rather that they have a man who loves them so much. During that time, the brunette went to the brunette's house or rather apartment, although it only had a bed and a few clothes. When the brunette saw that it hurt him a lot, but mainly he got angry. And after a few minutes of calming down, he picked up everything that was valuable and took the clothes and left everything else since the brunette had planned to buy him new clothes and not just one, where it is all worn out, although at first the brunette refused. With the help of the girls they convinced her. During this time, the brunette had experienced the best days of her life since not only did she have a place that she managed to call home where she felt comfortable and safe, but she also became good friends with the other girls where she felt very happy. That she finally has people she could call friends. Above the house, the brunette gave her an unoccupied room where she felt uncomfortable at first since it was very beautiful, large and too comfortable, but after a few days she was able to get used to it. At that time she met Vala and his wives where they came to train with the brunette since he was their teacher, something that greatly surprised the brunette. She also discovered that Issei is the owner of the company Red Dragon. This really left her speechless, although seeing that house and the political power it possesses throughout the world should not surprise her, but knowing that from a pervert with no future and alone, he became a very influential person with beautiful girls around him. Also on those days, Irina moved permanently to the brunette's house since she did not want to leave him again. Of course, the girls had no problems. Even the brunette welcomed her with open arms although she had not yet had a night with him. But she didn't care much since what she wanted was to be by his side, and she decided it was better to wait for her beloved brunette to take her as his own and give him what she has kept so much just for him. The days passed until the day finally arrived when he had to face the Dragon King. The Mao Lucifer had informed him of all the other details such as time and place a few days before, and that brings us to this moment where everyone present at the Haida mansion was preparing to leave, including Kiryu who could already walk without problems although he still cannot run. Of course, the brunette told her everything that had happened with him and the Gremry group. It goes without saying that the brunette was super angry. She couldn't even make a better friend of Asia. "Well, girls, let's not go," said the now blonde as he changed to Sujiro so he wouldn't find out. Everyone nodded and went in a magical circle to the underworld. Underworld, city of Lilith. "Oni-sama, do you really think he's coming?" said a redhead to her beautiful Mao who was next to her waiting in a room very impatiently. "Don't worry, Rias-John, he will come since we had reported this matter before. He has to come or else I'll look for him to kill him," said a very beautiful woman with beautiful blue eyes, blue hair, with a precise body with large breasts, a small waist, wide hips, a firm and round butt and long, thick legs. Sexy that would leave any man in love with her. She also has a cold aura around her making her look more beautiful than ever, and at first glance she was very proud. In the room were the three Mouse Surzek, Ajuka and has been more active since the party and her personality has returned a little although she still has that sad look. Next to the green-haired Mao was the beautiful blue-haired girl. On the red-haired Mao's side was the entire Gremry entourage next to Kunu and a little further away from them Ravel. At that moment, a magic circle was formed from which the blonde came out with his women, although everyone present was surprised to see a brunette that they had never seen before. Although the Gremry group when they saw her were surprised to see who was mainly Asia and Zenobia who they were close friends. But at that moment a question came to the minds of the Gremry group. What is Kiryu doing with Sujiro? They all thought at the same time. The blonde looked around the room and approached where the three Mao are with a calm smile. When the blonde appeared, Ravel ran to her friends who welcomed her with a hug and introduced her to the brunette where after a few words the blonde phoenix was able to remember her. It's good that it was the only thing the red-haired Mouse said before his sister interrupted him. "You know where my Issei is, tell me where he is." "He's okay, he's injured," the redhead Gremry said quickly, and it wasn't just her since everyone in the Gremry group began to interrogate him. Everyone in the room was surprised by the girl's actions, especially the blonde who began to get upset with so many stupid questions since they didn't care if he was okay or not. The blonde let out his aura, letting it sit throughout the room and silencing the Gremry group and leaving a certain blue-haired girl surprised by the powerful aura that was full of authority and power. For some reason when she felt that aura the blue-haired girl couldn't avoid licking his lips while Senior formed a smile on his face. The blonde looked at the girls from the Gremry group again with a cold and angry look, causing them to take a step back when they saw him while a chill passed down their back and their legs began to fail. He didn't hate them. He really didn't even behave to them. But the fact that they started asking about him as if nothing had happened made him very angry, and that they called him Issei, that was what angered him the most. First of all, if I ever hear any of you say my Issei again, I assure you that it will be the last thing you will say, and I don't mind starting a war with the demons. The blonde said with a murderous look that began to tremble as the faces began to tremble. Other people in the room were quiet while the three mouths and the dragon were sweating a lot and could see that he was being very serious. Only his girls, Kiryu and Ravel, who were calm. Secondly, you should not care if he is well or not, if he is dead or not, since you have forgotten and made your life or do not remember that each of you has a boyfriend, a fiancé, you are even married. He came back, the blonde said, to which the girls, upon hearing him, lowered their gaze upon hearing that truth. Note, when I say Gremy group, Ross is not included. Now get out of my way, the blonde said coldly, making everyone run since they wouldn't let him talk to the red-haired Mao. Well, Sirzek, here I am as we agreed, Ajuka, Serafal. The blonde greeted the three Maos while he turned to look at the blue-haired Mao who was next to the green-haired Mao. You must be Tiamat, the strongest dragon king, known as the dragon of karma and chaos. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Sujiro Pendragon. The blonde introduced himself calmly while the blue-haired girl returned to her serious and cold manner. You are the person who is a candidate for Dragon God? The blue-haired girl asked directly. Everyone present was quiet listening to the conversation since she was very curious if it was really him. Although the pig-tailed Mao wanted to ask her about the brown one, she decided to wait. Since he saw that it was not the best time. Exactly, I was nominated by one of the three dragon gods. The blonde answered calmly while he dodged a blow that the blue-haired girl sent him. At least you're not a weakling, he said coldly when he saw that one of his blows was easily dodged. But what the hell is wrong with him? If that blow had hit me, I would have been ordered to come back even if it hadn't hurt me much. The blonde said to himself, Don't be surprised, Tiamat has a very impulsive and aggressive character. If you are not someone close to her, always be on guard in front of her. Drake warned the blonde that he took his warning very seriously. Tiamat, please don't fight here. That's why we had that confrontation. The green-haired mouse said to the blue-haired girl, who calmed down since it was true. I hope you are bothered by that, asked the red-haired Mao, hoping to calm the atmosphere since before with his sister they made the blonde angry, and now with that attack he no longer knew if he was right in making this fight, since he could sense that the blonde was stronger in some way that had him nervous, since he didn't want him as an enemy but as an ally. Don't worry, I won't be bothered, the blonde answered calmly, to which the mouse breathed because of that. Well, returning to the main topic, the fight will take place here in Lilith Stadium in 3 hours. In the meantime you can do whatever you like, plus, it will be a public fight, the redhead informed calmly while the blonde nodded for the information. Very well. Then if you'll excuse me, I'll see you in 3 hours, the blonde said as he walked to where his girls were. Ravel, would you like to accompany us? Asked the blonde, to which the blonde phoenix nodded immediately. After that she created a magic circle and left the place, leaving everyone breathing a sigh of relief. Rias would ask you not to do that, and so would you. I understand your concern for Issei. I am also worried about him, but you have to know when to speak and when to shut up. The mouse scolded the Gremy group who, although he adored his sister, thought that this time it happened. 15. The Gremy group lowered their heads in regret and shame, although they felt a shudder when they remembered those eyes. Besides, Rias, what he said was right, you already made your life. Even you already got married, the red-haired mouse said again seriously, since even though he adores his sister, Stella has to know that she is no longer a girl and she has to behave properly. After that small meeting, the blonde and his girls only walked around the city until the time of the fight arrived. When they were heading to the stadium, they ran into the Citri group. Queen Citri immediately went to greet her boyfriend, who received him with a kiss, to which she happily received him. It's good to see that you feel well, Su-chan, the blonde said, and then gave his girlfriend another kiss that she received. It's good to see you again, Sona-san, the blonde said now to the Citri heiress, who felt a little uncomfortable since she still had not resolved what she felt for the blonde. It's still good to see again, it had been a while, said the Citri heiress with a slight smile. She always liked being in the presence of the blonde since for some reason his aura calmed her. The blonde greeted the entire Citri group, to which they returned the greeting, although a certain blonde pawn was rude. The two groups continued on their way together and both went towards the stadium, although not just them, since the fight was public. Many people went to see it. Along the way, the blonde earned the gaze of many people, whether the men saw him with jealousy and the women with lust. But the blonde didn't care about them, since he was talking to the Citri heiress, who was on one side while the other side was hugging Queen Citri, and her girls didn't care since she was the one who spent the least time with the blonde. When they arrived, everyone was divided, since the blonde's girls had a reserved place, as did the Citri group, although Queen Citri left with her lover. With 3 hours gone by, the fight was going to start. The blonde and the blue-haired girl were already in the center of the field. The spectators were already gathered. Among them there were demons, dragons, fallen ones, some yokais. There were even one or another angel watching the fight. In one of the private rooms were the leaders of the alliance, the 4 Maos, although surprisingly the Maos Asmodeus was awake. Also in the room was Michael Azazel, Odin, and Yasaka as a representative of his daughter, who was not yet ready for situations like this since she was still afraid of being with the other leaders. This is going to be very interesting. That brat gives off a great aura of pure power, commented the Nordic god while rubbing his beard and looking at the blonde very analytically. Yes, I can also see that he is hiding all his strength, said the leader of heaven while analyzing the blonde. Who do you think will win? The fallen man asked with great interest, since he could not see the result of the fight. It is not known, the fight may be close. The red-haired Mao is happy. Sujiro is going to win. The kitsune commented, earning everyone's gaze. Because you say so, Yasaka? The green-haired Mao asked, very curious since he knew the blue-haired girl's strength. He has already passed the level of a Dragon King for a long time. For some reason, he is a candidate for Dragon God, since both Ophis and Great Red know his strength. That is why they take him as one of them. Yusaku answered with a calm but surprising smile. To everyone for that. But even so, he is going to fight seriously, since he knows what she is like. But even so, they will see a big fight. Kitsune finished saying, to which everyone remained silent and prepared to watch the fight. In the center of the stadium were 2 people staring at each other. I hope you don't hold back, the female Dragon King said seriously. Don't worry, I wasn't planning to do it, the blonde said calmly. While Graphia presented the match, the 2 combatants prepared to fight. When Vala said start, the 2 rushed at each other at high speed. When they were in front of the other, they launched a blow that when they collided, they created a large wave in front of the other. They launched a blow that when they collided, they created a large shock wave. But the blonde immediately attacked again, giving her a strong kick in the ribs. The blue-haired girl goes to counter-attack with a kick, but the blonde blocks it and hits her with a blow that makes her retreat a little. The blue-haired girl was surprised by the tremendous strength that the blonde has, and not only that, since she saw that he is quite fast. She attacked again, but this time seriously and with all her strength, since the blonde was not holding back, although she had a smile on her face when she saw that he did not underestimate her. The blonde is covered by a blow but is surprised because the blue-haired girl broke his defense and hit him hard in the stomach, causing the blonde to be surprised by the great force of that blow. But it's not over. The blue-haired girl gave him another blow to the face and a kick to the chest that sent him crashing against a large rock, since the field they were fighting on was very rocky. I never thought you broke my defense, but that's not going to happen anymore, said the blonde, coming out of the rubble to remind her that she was waiting for him. But when he was a few meters away from her, the blonde disappeared, surprising her until she felt a strong pain in her back that sent her crashing into the rubble that the blonde was before her. I let my guard down, but that won't happen again, the blue-haired girl said, sitting up. I hope so, after all we just started, the blonde said with a calm smile. The 2 smiled and disappeared to appear and see that they had landed a blow each, creating a crater from the great blow. They disappeared from everyone's sight again, but they could hear the loud crashes as craters appeared where the 2 passed. In the rooms, what speed? Azazel said, very surprised. Well, not for nothing is she the strongest of the Dragon Kings, the green-haired man commented with a serious look. But they really could have done it, Surzek said seriously. The brat is hiding his true strength, Odin said with a serious look, and it's not all that the boy has all the advantage. Mao Asmodeus also commented with a serious look. Yasaka, who is listening to everything, could only smile at what they were saying. He imagined that if they knew who he really was, they would get the surprise of their lives. On the field, we can see how the blue-haired girl tried to dodge all the blows, but it was very difficult for her since the blonde was very fast and his blows were stronger. The blue-haired girl separated from him to think about something. Unfortunately, it didn't work since the blonde didn't leave her and went at full speed to her. The blonde kicked her in the chest, making the blue-haired girl step back a little. He immediately grabbed her leg and threw him to the ground with all his strength. But she didn't finish there, as she gave him a strong paw on the back, making a small crater. She was going to kick him again, but the blonde grabbed her leg and threw her against a rock while she tried to get up. How on earth can he hit so hard? Those 2 blows hurt me a lot, the blonde thought as he recovered from that strong kick. I told you to be careful. Even though you are stronger than her, she tends to turn things around. Not for nothing is she the most powerful of the Dragon Kings. Alberto dragged to his partner. The blonde was going to answer, but he realized that the blue-haired girl rushed to where he was with great speed. But when he was going to counterattack, the blonde instinctively crouched, avoiding a leg that came from behind. When I arrived there, as the blonde thought, very surprised by that speed. He moved away a little to distance himself, but the blue-haired girl reappeared behind him and gave him a strong blow on the blonde's back that was going to send him flying. But before she grabbed his hand and hit him again in the face, he held him again and hit him in the chest again. It was going to be like that, but the blonde stopped one of his blows to give her a head, but that made the blue-haired girl retreat. Once loose, he gave it a hook that raised it. The blonde jumped and gave it an axe kick so that it was thrown downwards and created a large crater when it hit the ground. The blonde moved at high speed to kick him, but the blue-haired girl dodged it to kick the blonde in the chest. But when he was going to hit him, he sent a blow and the 2 collided, creating a big wave of shock. This blow sends a blow, and the 2 collide, creating a large wave of wind, and they continued like this, creating several waves of wind. The spectators are very surprised by this display of power. Everyone was covered by the wind waves that the 2 created. In the leader's room, no one said anything since even they had difficulty if he faced Tiamat. I feel the case of the 4 mouse, Michael, Azazel and Isaka, since Odin did not clear Surzek and Ajuka without unleashing their true powers. The blonde girl's room. Looks like Tiamat has been training lately. Ophis commented calmly. How surprising, Tiamat-sama is really very strong, the magician commented with surprise. Not for nothing is she one of the most powerful of the Dragon Kings, Naya, said the Nikomata, also very surprised. Ravel were speechless at the high level of the fight. While Kiryu could barely see anything, but he could understand that this fight was surprising. They're not wrong, Ophis said, watching the blue-haired girl fighting with her blonde. What do you mean, Naya? The Nikomata asked the dragon because of what she said before about her, and not just her, since the others saw her interested. Tiamat is no longer at the level of a dragon king, but rather she is almost at the level of a celestial dragon, the dragon answered seriously, surprising everyone in the room, although she did not take her eyes off the blue-haired girl since she could imagine how things would end. It seems that these 10 years Tiamat did not waste time, the dragon finished saying seriously, surprising the girls even more, and the most powerful being could not have weak women. Although they knew that the blonde didn't care about that, even Kiryu wanted to be strong, but he knew he couldn't, at least not now. On the battlefield, the fight was getting more and more intense. It had been a while since the fight had started, and the only thing that happened was that every moment it intensified more and more. At this moment, the 2 were exchanging blows, and the blonde was having a difficult time since the blue-haired girl was really powerful. Shit. If I don't do something, I'll lose. Although I could beat him if I use my balance breaker, but everyone would know who I am. The blonde thought carefully. I never thought that Tiamat would become so strong. She is almost at the same level as mine and Albion's. Drake commented, very surprised by the level that the blue-haired girl had. I never thought she would become so strong, commented the blonde with a sincere smile that at the same time Drake could only imagine one thing, and he also smiled about what could happen to the 2 of them in the future. At that moment, they both clashed their fists, creating another wave of wind but more powerful than before, making them both take a step back. I never imagined you were so powerful, the dragon said with a smile. You're not far behind either. You've really surprised me. I never thought that despite being beautiful, you were also very powerful. The blonde said with a smile that made the blue-haired girl blush. What the hell are you saying? The blue-haired girl said nervously and very blushing because she was so beautiful. What's wrong with me because I get like that for a guy like him? The blue-haired girl thought very upset. Oh, besides being beautiful, shy, I'm actually becoming more and more interested in you, said the blonde, surprising the blue-haired girl who turned redder than before. But what's wrong with me because I said that? The blonde thought, very surprised by his words, hoping that it wasn't what he thought. He stopped thinking about that and attacked the blue-haired girl again, causing her to also attack him. In the blonde girl's room, everyone is amazed by the blonde's words since he was not like that. As I thought, the dragon said into the air after listening to that conversation. They all saw her again to explain the reason for that behavior and that talk. Dragons are warm-blooded beings. We look for a partner who is stronger than us females. In the case of males who is strong, quite strong, those are our instincts. Sujiro is a pure dragon and his instincts are very developed. Tiamat is a pure dragon who also has very developed instincts, said the dragon, checking to see if the other girls understood the reference. That means that they are both attracted to each other, asked the magician, very interested in that point since being part dragon, she had studied about it. All the other girls were shocked by that fact. If everyone starts to think about it, it is not so strange. Each of us are beings that go beyond the normal. Yusaka can be said to be the strongest of her race. Kuroka who can face extremely powerful beings that others cannot even face. Lu Fei can be said to be the most powerful magician. Tsubaki who despite not being very powerful stands out from the others by far. Irina who until now is becoming strong but before she was someone who stood out and stood out. I don't have to mention it, the dragon said again, leaving everyone mentioned in shock since they had not thought about that. Although Ravel and Kiryu were a little confused by what they said. He is an extremely powerful being, and power attracts power. This principle can also be used to attract strong women, as well as each of us, just as it is happening with Tiamat. His instincts recognize how strong she is, so he begins to see her as a future partner, in the same way it happens to her since being the second strongest woman. The only males that could interest her are Drag and Albion, who are the only ones who are interested in her, since she wants a partner stronger than her, but those two were only interested in their fights. There are also the dragon gods, but they do not look at her since being with strong women, but it is something that he has not realized, said the dragon, with a calm smile as he looked at everyone. While none of them said anything, but they all had to agree to that explanation because it seemed like it was true. And if we had Seraphal and Gabriel, women who are extremely powerful, they couldn't find another explanation. They all remained silent and prepared to watch the fight. On the battlefield, the blonde gave a strong blow to the blue-haired girl's stomach, who counterattacked with a kick to the face. The blonde thought it was best to finish the fight since he didn't know if the blue-haired girl could turn the battle around. With that idea, she began to expel her aura while increasing her power. When the blue-haired girl felt it, she did not let her aura out. Although it is very strong, it was not as strong as the blonde's. Some rocks, the blonde appeared and kicked her on the back, sending her upwards. The blonde appeared again next to her and gave her another kick, sending her flying to the ground, creating a screen of smoke and a large crater. Note: in this FIC Tiamat is going to make an ice dragon. Why? Because I want it, and it's my favorite element. When he was going to attack again, he had to dodge a breath of ice. He saw who it was again. He was surprised since it was Tiamat who until now uses her dragon breath. The blonde landed on a rock that barely made it. It was destroyed since the blonde jumped towards the blue-haired girl who released her breath. The blonde did the same. Nothing more than this was made of fire that upon contact created a large curtain of steam that no one could see anything. But they could feel and hear the strong exchanges between them as they created sound waves. Inside the steam, the blonde dodged a kick from the blue-haired girl, while he counterattacked with a kick to the chest that was blocked. They were like that for a while until the blue-haired girl kicked the blonde in the chest, which made him retreat a little, but he immediately countered with a blow that also made her retreat a little, but it didn't end as the blonde turned back. attack with a strong blow that stunned the blue-haired girl and then unleashed a kick that made her retreat further and threw a large flame at her, to which the blue-haired girl could only throw her cold breath at her to counteract. But she did not have much time and much of it. The attack hit her, leaving the blue-haired girl unconscious due to fatigue, the damage received, and the last attack. The blonde breathed a little and approached her little by little to carefully lift her up in the shape of a princess. He was glad that she was okay and she was just tired, so he started walking with her in his arms while the spectators were speechless for the night. Great battle they saw. One of them began to applaud until little by little the others followed, since that was a great fight. The leaders are all silent until one broke the silence. "Well, that boy really surprised us. I never thought he had that power," said the fallen man, quite surprised. "But I don't think that was all his power, or am I wrong, Yasaka?" asked the leader of heaven, hoping to clarify his doubts. "You are right, Michael, he is much stronger than that. It is not for nothing that he is a candidate for Dragon God." Of course, the kitsune with a proud smile that her man was so strong, although a certain Mao with pigtails for some reason felt happy in her heart to see the blonde win, and even more so to see how strong he is. The leaders left the room in search of the blonde and found him in a large room where he was congratulated for his hits, causing the leaders to be very jealous of being surrounded by beautiful women. Well, almost all of them, since Michael, being an angel, couldn't have those feelings. Yasaka moved forward while moving her hips from one side to the other, leaving the leaders hypnotized by the movement, until she arrived at the blonde, who gave her a kiss, to which he returned it happily, leaving the leaders with much more jealousy than before. Foresee that scene. Damn lucky bastard. They all thought at the same time. The Gremry group was also in the room, but they were far away from the blonde since they still remember what he said before. There was also the Citri group, since Sona wanted to congratulate the blonde, although she felt a little jealous when she saw her queen kissing him, but I throw away that feeling. "Congratulations on winning," Sirzak said, approaching the blonde with the other leaders. "You are someone really strong," Azazel commented with his typical smile. "But that's not all your power, brat." Odin said that despite hearing it from the kitsune, he wanted to finish confirming it with him. "Exactly. That is not all my power, and if you ask how powerful I am, I prefer to keep it to myself," the blonde answered calmly, anticipating the question he was going to ask. "I like you, brat," old Odin said with a smile. After talking for a few more minutes with the leaders and after having a small talk with Sona, who at that moment Serafal was staring at them, the blonde left with his girls, but not before leaving Ravel at her house. Although all the while the blonde realized that the Gremry group wanted to say something, but he always ignored them since he already knew what they were going to ask, and although he doesn't love them if it bothered him that they were like that, as if everything would be normal when he appeared again. After that day things continued normally, although he realized that Tiamat was looking for him, but he did not say where she was since it was not yet time to talk to her because he felt confused about her. Also at this time the brunette had recovered and the brunette continued to let her stay at his house since he did not want the same thing to happen to her. Plus lately he really liked her company, and he had to admit she was someone really beautiful. Her body, despite not having much, made her look very beautiful and sexy. Along with her brown hair and her beautiful eyes, one could not deny that she had a beautiful face, and the brunette already missed her way of being since her perverted suggestions and comments, making both Lu Fei and Irina blush at what was said. Even Tsubaki was not saved since despite having intimacy with the blonde, the brunette's suggestions made the three girls blush even more. Irina, who had not yet had intimacy and more than once she fainted completely red. But the brunette also took revenge on the brunette since sometimes he played along with her, making her cornered more than once, making her blush furiously, and she had never had contact with the other gender. Although once when the brunette was passing through one of the hallways when by pure chance the brunette came out of the thermal bath only in a towel, making it impossible not to see him and blush furiously, the brunette, upon seeing her like that, smiled evilly and cornered him. To the brunette who looked like a defenseless kitten against a tiger that before the brunette digested anything, the brunette fainted from seeing the brunette's well-formed body, and it was even worse when she saw a large lump that was hiding her towel. This was because inside Yasaka and Kuroka were in the hot springs with big smiles since their beloved blonde had made them his own 5 times in a row, which they didn't say but and rather wanted it to be a 6th. That way, Time passed peacefully for the blonde and his girls following their duties. Although Kuroka and Ophis had told him that Ross was acting very strange lately, that worried the brunette a lot since seeing the silver-haired girl again was a given. She says that what she felt was love for her. But he was not going to do anything and she only wanted her to be happy with her husband. A pain ran through her when she remembered that she had a husband, but she did not say or do anything since it was her fault for being so. He was slow and didn't clarify what he felt before. But knowing that his mind was acting strange lately, that worried him. Also at that time he realized that Tiamat was still looking for him. He gave up since in the end he did feel attracted to her, and after a chat with the girls and mainly with Ophis, he decided to wait to reveal his identity to see how act. Issei at that time continued his work with his company. He also went to see Sona to see how everyone was doing and talked to her a little since lately he started to have feelings for her. But he kept it to himself and waited to clarify that to see if was it love or just affection. Although in one of their conversations the heiress, it really mentioned that his sister was asking about him. That surprised him a lot, but he felt bad not being able to tell her about who he really was. But he promised himself that once it is revealed that he would do anything to make the pig-tailed Mao happy. In this way, 2 months had already passed since that fight and the brunette had become very close to the brunette. At this moment he was in the living room spending time with Ophis, who was lying on his chest, letting the brunette caress her hair while he let himself be pampered by the most important person in his life, and the only one he loves. On one side was Yasaka, who was lying next to her lover while he caressed her beautiful hair and her kitsune ears, making her feel extremely happy from the touch since she could feel all the love and affection that her lover had for her, who allows himself to be pampered while enjoying the tranquility and love that the only person he loves gives him. A few minutes passed like this until Lu Fei appeared in a magic circle with something in her hand. "Issei-sama, we have problems," the magician said in a hurry. Yasaka opened her eyes and Ophis did not move but paid attention to what would happen. The magician hands her the envelope, and when she opened it, she couldn't help but frown while Yasaka and Ophis were surprised by that since what she had in her hand was nothing more and nothing less an invitation to the wedding of the heir Barbados and the 4th daughter of the Phoenix House. "It seems that Lady Phoenix did not take my advice," the brunette said with a slight anger in his tone. "Issei, what are we going to do?" the kitsune asked, a little worried about the blonde Phoenix since despite everything she is one of the people who most longed for and loved her. Issei, "Don't worry, Yasu-chan, everything will turn out fine. I just have to go to the demonic council and finish arranging some documents. Once they are finished and signed by those old men, not even the Bible God himself can keep her away from me," said the brunette. With a smile to which the girls calmed down, and they knew very well what their loved one was like. "Fei-chan, stay with Ravel and calm her down. I imagine she's going to be very upset by this news. If you can, take Irina to help you," the blonde asked, to which Megan nodded and went to look for the angel. "Do you think everything will turn out well?" the kitsune asked, a little worried. "Don't worry, Yasu-chan, everything is going to be fine," the brunette told her as he caressed her head again, making her calm down again. "If not, then we just arrive and take it by force. It's not like anyone can stop us," said the dragon, still lying on her lover's chest. The brunette smiled at what was mentioned, and although he was right, he wanted to leave that topic without problems. Although if he can't, he will just take it by force. The brunette kissed the dragon, to which she happily returned the kiss. After that invitation, the blonde traveled several times to the underworld to talk about the topic of marriage. But he didn't have much progress, so he thought that if they don't agree, he will have to show them who he is and do it by force. When there was almost a week left until Ravel's wedding, something happened that was not planned. "Sekuriadai," a quite serious voice was heard from a magic circle that caught the attention of everyone in the house. "What's happening, Shiva?" the brown-haired man said seriously as he noticed the god a little agitated. Although when the brown-haired man said that name, everyone present tensed up and were surprised to know who he was. "Appeared," the god said very quickly, surprising the brunette and confusing the girls. "Where was the only thing?" the brunette asked seriously. "In Romania he is attacking vampires, although I don't know why. But if he has already made a move, it won't be good since he doesn't care if they discover him," the god said hurriedly. Elmenhild? The brunette thought, worrying about the only vampire who had feelings. "At this moment I'm heading there," I need you to go too. God finished saying seriously. I'll arrive right away was the only thing the brunette said seriously, cutting off the communication. The brunette turned to his girls who were still confused. Girls, stay here. I need to attend to something urgent, the brunette informed, creating a magic circle to leave without letting them say Nafa since time will be necessary. Wait, Issei, what's happening? The kitsune asked, stopping the brunette. Indra appeared and is attacking Romania. When he said those words everyone was shocked. Of course Kiryu already knew everything since Issei told him why he had not shown himself before. I immediately created a circle of communication. Vala, said the brown one, communicating with Vala. Issei, Vali heard himself say, a little surprised by his friend's serious tone. Indra appeared attacking Romania. Shiva and I are already going there. Issei reported, to which Vala was surprised by that. I'll see you there, Vala said seriously. Vala, I don't know what the situation will be like there, but when you arrive, attack with everything you have, don't hold back. It was the last thing the brunette said to cut off communication and create a circle to leave. Wait, Issei, we're going too. Olphus said seriously. She knew that this guy was extremely dangerous, especially if he has the powers of Trihexa. We are not going to accept no for an answer, Issei-sama, the magician said with determination. We promise to be with you through thick and thin, and this is no exception, Irina said seriously. Although she knew that she was the weakest, she was not going to be left behind. She trained a lot to reach the level of the others, and although she lacks, she does not know. I was going to give up. The brunette was happy about that. He felt extremely happy knowing that he had girls who supported him, but he was not sure about this decision. Issei, I already lost you once. I won't lose you a second time. I don't care that I won't let you go alone. Even if you go to the end of the world, I will accompany you, she said with a smile that the others followed. Okay girls, let's go, but don't get overconfident and attack with everything. The brunette ended up giving up due to the stubbornness of his lovers, but he was also very happy. Kiryu, stay here, we'll come back later, said the brunette, leaving in a magical circle, leaving the brunette alone. When they left, the brunette clenched her fists tightly out of the frustration she felt at being useless to the only person who helped her and protected her, as well as the only person who had been developing feelings. Because I am so weak, said the brunette when remembering her past, that because of her weakness, she ended up in that state, and now the world is preparing for a war that will define the destiny of everyone, and she can't do anything. At that moment, she felt so frustrated. Europe, Romania. In the territory of the vampires, it was in total chaos, even though there were not many dead, although there was great destruction. Indra's servants destroyed everything without caring, and among them there were some Marat generals who were gods of minor storms, although their power is quite remarkable. During the last 10 years, the fractions of Teach and Carmelilla joined together, and now all the vampires were a single fraction. This was due to the destruction and damage that Rise of him caused at that time. They had to unite in case of a possible attack. Among them, Elmenhild Karstein was chosen as ruler since she was a very influential person with the leaders of the Alliance, and was one of the few people close to the great hero of the war against the evil dragons, Haida Issei. At this time, the vampires, thanks to their unity, were able to avoid great losses, this being only material. In the main castle was the leader and queen of the vampire faction, Elmenhild Karstein, who was on the ground with multiple wounds and blood coming out in various places from where she had the wounds. Well, I never thought you'd last this long. Indra laughed arrogantly when she saw the pitiful state of the leader of the vampires. That's what happens to you for opposing me and not giving me what I want, Indra said with great arrogance. The vampire was clenching her fists because of the calamity that had befallen them. First it was Rise of him who barely made it out alive, but now another calamity arrived that was stronger and more devastating. This is our destiny, to be destroyed, and this time the person who saved us is no longer there. The vampire thought with great pain in her heart when she saw how that god was preparing a lightning bolt to end her life. Her miserable life, since for her that was a miserable life because of everything that has happened to her loved ones. First it was Rise of him destroying my beloved homeland. Even though we survived, another misfortune happened to her life. The man, the only man she had fallen in love with, had left her to save her world from that dress, and everything was seen by her without being able to do anything, leaving her with a deep pain in her heart at not being able to see him anymore, and it was even worse since she couldn't even confess her feelings to him. And now this damn god is about to destroy the last thing he has left in his life along with his life. At that moment a smile formed on his face. Even though he was always a serious person, now he had a beautiful smile on his beautiful face that even though she had blood, it didn't take away from how beautiful she looked. At least I can meet you again in the future, and if not, at least I hope to meet you again in my other life to tell you what I could never tell you due to lack of curry. The vampire thought to herself with a smile on her face. Her face that anyone would be delighted to see. Indra charged his lightning bolt and threw it at the vampire, who simply stood there waiting for her inevitable death while she sawed her eyes and a tear ran down her cheek, and she remembered those words that she could never say to her. "I love you, Issei," the vampire whispered, happy to see the man who stole her heart known. The lightning charged at high speed and with great power towards the vampire, creating a large explosion upon impact. That's it, guys. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.